Alright, today we're going to talk about ratios and rates. Alright? Now, a ratio, you need to know two definitions, what a ratio and a rate is. And then the last thing you're going to need to know today is what a unit rate is. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to make a ratio. I'm going to show you how to make a rate. I'm going to tell you what the difference is. And then I'm going to show you how to make a unit rate. Okay? Now, they say here, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. So if I've got 3 to 9, how would I make it into a ratio if a ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division? Caroline? Let's read it again. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers by, say this.
Division.
So how could I make these a ratio?
3 divided by 9.
Good. 3 divided by 9. This is now a ratio.
But that looks like a ratio too because it says that.
Well, it looks like it. Yeah, but we're not dividing here. What does this in the middle mean? Nothing. It's not a divide, is it? Remember, let's read the definition again. A ratio is a comparison of two numbers by division. So a rate is a ratio with the top and the bottom containing two different units. Okay? So earlier you gave me 3 over 9. Neither one of them has a unit, does it? So the units are the same, aren't they? Nothing. Okay? Now, if we were to say 3 people to 9 chairs. Okay? Now, we have people to chairs. Since they're two different units, these become what? Rates. You see the difference? Okay? So a ratio is like this. No units. 3 over 9. No units. This is a ratio. When you put a tag on it or a definition on it, like 3 people for 9 chairs, you've made it a rate. Okay? Two different units. Now what if they said $3 to $9? What would this be? A ratio still. Are the units the same? So it's still a ratio. What's the difference between a rate and a ratio? The units must be what? Different. So a unit rate is the last definition. It's the third definition of the day. We had ratio, rate, now unit rate. A unit rate is a rate where the denominator of a rate is 1. Now here, is the denominator 1? Huh? No. So is this a unit rate? No, but it is a rate, isn't it? So we need to make the denominator 1, and it'll be a unit rate. So we can divide the top and the bottom by 4, can't we? 200 divided by 4 is 50. And we know it's 50 miles over. And 4 divided by 4 is 1 hour. So now we have 50 miles to an hour. And the denominator equals 1. So this is a what? A unit rate. Let's look at 3 different examples. This is a what?
Ratio.
This is a ratio because the units are the same. There's not any. Okay? Now what is this, Caroline? 3 miles to 9 hours. What is that? This is a rate. It's a rate because you have two different units, right? Right, Caroline? Now, Caroline, what is this? If I took 9 over 3 and I divided 9 divided by 3, what would that be?
3.
Over 1. Now, let's say we had miles to hours. Now, Caroline, is the denominator 1? So this is a what? Unit rate. Okay? You couldn't say this was a ratio. Why isn't this a ratio? Why isn't it a ratio, Caroline?
Because it has much.
No, because the units are different. See, a ratio has the units the same.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? The units are different, which makes it a rate. But now since the denominator is 1, you add unit to it because it's now a unit rate.
Okay.
1 unit. So here it says Jane buys 6 cans of soda for $1.74. We got $1.74 divided by 6 cans, and it wants us to express it as a unit rate. So we divide 1.74 divided by 6, and what do you get?
0.29.
0.29. And now we could say it's $0.29, but that's cents, isn't it?
Yeah.
Over 1 can. So how much does each can of soda cost? 29 cents per 1 can of soda. And this is a unit rate because you have dollars to cans, right?
That's how we go out to do.
So this says express the ratio 2 to 28. That's 2 over 28. But it says in simplest form, so we simplify to 1 over 14, and you're done. Now, why is this a ratio? I divided the top by 2, and I divided the bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 28 divided by 2 is 14. Now, why is this a ratio and not a rate? The unit, say the unit, is the same. Or are the same. Alright, number 2 says to express 800 to 16 as a ratio. Okay? So you just do 800 divided by 16. Now in your calculator, type 800 divided by, and type 16 and tell me what it gives you. 50? 50?
Yes, sir.
Now it tells you to do it as a fraction, so you do 50 over 1. Now, is this a unit rate?
Yes.
No, it's not. The units are the same. So this is just a ratio. Remember, for it to be a unit rate, this would have to be like dollars to miles, right? Different. It has to be a rate before it can be a unit rate. And it wasn't a rate, was it? So it can't be a unit rate. It's a ratio. Okay? Now, number 12 says 16 losses to 40 games. Okay, so we got 16 losses to 40 games. Now, this one is going to be a ratio or a rate? A rate because the units are different. Now, divide 16, say 16 divided by 40 in your calculator, tell me what you get.
0.4.
0.4. We don't want to say 0.4 as we don't want to say that as our answer because it has to be a fraction. So we know the top will divide by 8, right? 16 divided by 8 is 2. The bottom will divide by 8, it's 5. So what's your ratio as a fraction? 2/5. Alright, now the last one says to express the trip from Paris to Tokyo as a unit rate. Paris is 9 million people or 9 billion people or something. And Tokyo is 12. So it wants us to do that as a rate or ratio. As a ratio. Now, Caroline, how do I simplify 9 over 12?
Divide by 3.
Yeah, 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So your ratio is 3 over 4 simplified. So guys, today you learned 3 definitions. You learned what a ratio was, what a rate was, and what a unit rate was. Then you learned how to make them as rates, ratios, and unit rates, and simplify.